If you've been scrolling through endless spec sheets, watching YouTubers hype the newest RTX rigs, and still feel a little stuck wondering whether a 15-inch laptop can actually hold its own for serious gaming, this review is for you. I've spent the last week juggling this Dell Inspiron 15 while running a mix of work-related Excel files, video calls, and a handful of the games that sit on my play when I have a minute list. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. By the end of this video you'll know if the trade-offs this machine makes are worth your hard-earned cash or if you'd be better off saving up for a desktop tower. First off, the hesitation most buyers feel with a laptop like this isn't about the brand. Dell is a name we all recognize, but about the balance between raw horsepower and the constraints of a thin, portable chassis. The Inspiron packs a 13th Gen Intel Core i7 with 10 cores, a full 32GB of RAM, and a 1TB SSD. Those numbers scream unlimited productivity on paper, and for things like compiling code, running multiple virtual machines, or editing 4K footage you'll feel that speed instantly. The real question for gamers, however, is what's driving the graphics. The spec sheet doesn't call out a dedicated GPU, so you're looking at Intel's integrated graphics solution. That's fine for titles that aren't GPU hungry, think indie games, strategy titles, or older esports staples like CS:GO or League of Legends, but don't expect buttery smooth 1440p frame rates in the latest open-world shooters. If you're the type who plays Fortnite on low settings, or you enjoy a nightly session of Minecraft with a texture pack, the laptop will hold up. If you're hoping to max out Cyberpunk 2077 at ultra settings, you'll be disappointed and probably end up buying a desktop later. Heat and fan noise are the next practical concerns. A 10-core i7 cranking through a game or a heavy rendering job will push the cooling system hard. In my testing, the fans spun up aggressively during sustained gaming, reaching a noticeable whine that can be heard over a quiet room. The chassis feels warm on the palm rest after 20-30 minutes of continuous load, but it never hit the uncomfortable burn-through level you sometimes see in cheaper laptops. That's because Dell's enhanced visuals and optimized performance marketing translates into a fairly competent vapor chamber-style cooler for a laptop of this size. If you plan to game in a shared space or on a couch with a blanket over the keyboard, be prepared for that audible fan presence. Keyboard feel matters more for long gaming sessions than it does for casual typing. The Inspiron uses a standard island-style layout with 1.5mm travel, which feels decent but not as crisp as the mechanical keys you'd find on a dedicated gaming laptop. The backlighting is a single white zone, so you won't get the RGB flare that some gamers love, but it's bright enough for low-light environments. I didn't notice any wobble or ghosting in fast-paced games, so the key matrix is solid enough for most titles. If you're a competitive player who relies on tactile feedback, you might miss the clickier feel of a mechanical board. Battery life is another big trade-off. Dell advertises unlimited productivity, but when the GPU is the integrated Intel Iris Xe, the laptop can still pull a respectable 67 hours of mixed-usage web browsing, document editing, and a bit of video streaming. Once you throw a game onto the mix, that drops to roughly 3 hours before you see the charge percentage dip below 30%. It's not a disaster, but you'll need to keep the charger handy if you plan marathon gaming sessions away from an outlet. The 15.6-inch IPS touchscreen is a nice bonus for productivity. You can scroll through spreadsheets with a swipe or draw quick diagrams, but it also consumes a bit more power than a non-touch panel would. Portability-wise, the laptop weighs around 4.5 pounds and is roughly an inch thick. That's a step up from ultralight ultrabooks, but still manageable for a commuter who carries a bag daily. The inclusion of USB-C, HDMI, and a full-size USB-A port means you won't need a dongle hub to plug in a monitor, mouse, or external SSD. Wi-Fi 6 ensures low latency for online gaming, and the HDMI output supports an external 1080p or 1440p display if you want to dock at home for a more immersive session. Now let's talk price versus a desktop. Without a dedicated GPU, the Inspiron's cost sits in the mid-range laptop bracket, more than a basic office notebook but less than a premium gaming machine with an RTX 3070. If you compare it to building a desktop with a comparable